Welcome to PBCJ's coverage of the sitting of the Senate. I'm Simone Absalom, and I'll provide a brief outline of what's expected to take place during the sitting. But before we begin, did you know that the Senate usually functions as a review chamber, considering bills passed by the House of Representatives? But the Senate may also initiate legislation, except money bills. On the agenda today, reports of the Regulations Committee on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefits Special Selections Estuary Housing Development Order 2017. The National Housing Trust Housing Benefits Special Selection Berkshire Court of Eltham Order 2018. Two bills are also down to be tabled: the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2018 and the Child Diversion Act 2018. That's what's on the agenda. It should be noted that elements of the day's agenda can be changed or moved. But before we go, here are a few things you need to bear in mind if you plan to attend the session at Gordon House. No visitor shall create any act of disorder within the precincts of the House. No visitor shall be admitted to the House without first obtaining an admission card from the office of the clerk. Visitors who remain within the precincts of the House during a suspension of the session are asked to keep silent. No photography, videography, or sketching of the proceedings is allowed, unless so authorized by the presiding officer, and there should be no smoking inside the parliamentary building. Now over to the proceedings.
President Canal, through the ambassador, giving the apology, the condolences and best wishes of the Senate, and that was done. On a brighter note, I'm going to ask the clerk to write to the new Prime Minister of Barbados, Prime Minister Motley, offering our congratulations. Although we had an agent working down there in the form of leader of government business, it is in fact your cousin-in-law. Cousin-in-law, she would be to you. Strictly speaking, cousin-in-law.
She's my husband's niece.
Your husband's niece. Okay, good. So I'm going to ask the clerk to write and offer our congratulations. And of course, I was in touch with leader of opposition business when she was down there, so we're very happy. And I ask you to recognize the elevation of first female Prime Minister of Barbados. Your Worship, I think that I speak for all of us when I say that, first of all, you're in your wrong seat, but I don't suppose it matters where you pray from. And we noticed that there was a fire at Papine Market, and we trust that everything is under control here and the devastation is not as bad as it appears to be. Yes, you can.
Well, Mr. President, the fire occurred in the early morning yesterday, about 2 a.m. We were on spot during the fire, and I personally went there at about 11 yesterday. We started the cleanup, and because the issue for us is really to as quickly as possible bring the market back to normalcy so that the vendors can continue to do their business.
And that is proceeding?
And that is proceeding.
Okay.
We believe that the cleanup will be completed on Saturday, and from there on we will do some renovation.
Okay,
so
thank you.
No one was hurt. And we are relocating, it's about 13 to 15 vendors. We are relocating them to other sections of the market so that they can continue to do their business while we do the renovation.
Thank you very much. Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the Senate today are the following: Ministry Paper number 54 of 2018, an annual report of the Administrator General's Department for the year 2016-2017. Ministry Paper number 55 of 2018, an annual report of the Jamaica Racing Commission for the year 2014-2015. Annual report of the Land Administration and Management Program for the year 2011-2012, and annual report on audited financial statements of the Jamaica Urban Transit Company Limited for the year 2014-2015. Also in circulation for information is the annual report of the committee set up to examine and recommend for approval proposed estimates for constituency projects submitted to the Constituency Development Fund Project Management Unit by respective members of Parliament for the year 2017-2018.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Bills brought from the Honourable House of Representatives.
The following is a message from the Speaker of the House of Representatives. To the Honourable Senate, I have the honour to advise the Honourable Senate that on the 9th day of May 2018, a bill entitled An Act to Facilitate the Implementation of Child Diversion in the Criminal Justice System and for Connected Matters was passed in the House of Representatives with 33 amendments. I also have the honor to advise the Honourable Senate that on the 15th day of May 2018, a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Public Procurement Act was passed in the House of Representatives with 23 amendments. Signed, Pernell P. Charles, CD, JP, MP, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Mr. President, may I receive your permission to speak from a seat that's not mine? Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Leader of Government Business in the Senate, I would like to signify her willingness to take charge of those two bills.
A bill shortly entitled the Child Diversion Act 2018 read the first time, and a bill entitled the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2018 read the first time.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bills.
Thank you, Minister Reid. You know, it completely slipped my attention to welcome a number of students and teachers from the Ocherios College. I think there are 5 students in attendance, and they are accompanied by 3 teachers. Wish to welcome you to the sitting of the Senate this morning. I think it may not be a very long sitting, but you'll get a feel of what it's like to work here as members of the Senate, and you're always welcome to come and spend the day with us. And please feel free. It is your parliament, and part of the democratic process requires our citizens to understand what is happening here and to participate in the democracy by observing. Thank you very much for coming and spending the time with us, and safe journey home. Petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally, questions and answers to questions.
Yes, Mr. President. The single question on the other paper, question paper standing in my name, has been outstanding for a long time. We got part answer the last sitting, and I wanted to know whether the complete answer is available today, and we're in a position to ask questions, some follow-up questions.
Thank you very much, Senator Brown.
Mr. President, I'd like to report that we have had major progress in dealing with this matter, save and except one ministry. I have presented...
Sorry, some minister, you have copies of the...
Yes, I have copies available. And I've actually given Senator Brown a copy of what I have already. So barring one ministry that is outstanding, this, Mr. President, would cover all the ministries that would have been reported, including the information we garnered directly from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
President,
Thank you, Mr. Yes, Senator.
I understand that the one ministry that is outstanding is the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service?
No, I didn't say that. I said I was saying that information I'm providing is because I'm aware that information was tabled by the Ministry of Finance and Public Service in another place. I'm just saying that what I'm presenting is a compilation of all the information, but there is a ministry that is outstanding.
Save me from asking that.
Yes, the Ministry of Health, yes.
Ministry of Health.
Yes.
Mr. President, notwithstanding the fact that the Ministry of Health is outstanding, there are some follow-up questions I'd like to put to the Minister. Are there copies for the other members of the Senate?
Yeah. We forget first.
So, Mr. President, may I ask that the Minister answer the questions?
I didn't hear you, Senator Brown.
I'm asking for the Minister to answer the questions. Yeah.
Mr. President, I would like to, with your leave, sir, to indicate to the member that I'm tabling the answers to the question that he has asked, and if it would please you, Mr. President.
Senator Brown, if he has tabled them, you have questions you want to ask or you want him to go through it.
Mr. President, while we are in this room, the questions are not for my sake only, and the people should get an answer. That's the norm, that the Minister answers the questions asked and the follow-up takes place. I expect the Minister to answer.
Senator Brown, you know, I think that perhaps his reticence is because of the fact that on the last occasion you say you didn't want to bother with it, you know. You remember that?
At that time, I wasn't prepared to go through the follow-up because of the incomplete nature.
Senator
so
Reid,
now I just need the answer.
No problem, man. Senator and Minister, go through the...
Thank you, Mr. President, for your guidance. I refer to the question posed by Senator Lambert Brown on the order paper. Could the Minister please indicate how many persons have been employed as either consultants or advisors to the various ministries of government since March 2016? 2, could the Minister please provide a list of these individuals by ministries, inclusive of salary scale in which they are employed? And B, the duration of each contract. And question 3, could the Minister indicate the number of persons currently employed on fixed-term contracts in each ministry? Answer. In relation to the Office of the Prime Minister, there is a named person, Mr. Archibald Hilton, Senior Advisor Consultant. Duration of the contract is 3 years. Salary scale, his actual salary is $2.7 million, traveling $1.243 million. the number of fixed-term contracts for that ministry that has been reported is 43. Turning to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, we report Ms. Shanika Carey, Executive Assistant, contract for 2 years, salary is $1.3 million, traveling $471,000, $471,972. Then we have Ambassador Marcia Gilbert Roberts, the 2-year contract, basic salary $6.103 million, duty allowance $708,504, security allowance $21,000 per annum, fixed motor vehicle allowance $1.3 million. The Office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Ms. Charisse Gale, Senior Advisor Consultant, contract period 2 years, basic salary $2.9 million, traveling $1.243 million. The Office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, we have an Executive Assistant, Ms. Carrie-Ann Shackelford, contract period 2 years, basic salary $1.3 million, community traveling allowance $471,000. Number of persons reported in the ministry on fixed-term contract is 6. Turning to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, we have Advisor Consultant Sharon Hay Webster, contract period of 3 years, salary $3.298 million, and fixed traveling $1.243 million. Ms. Brittany Singh Williams, contract period 3 years, basic salary $2.663 million, traveling $1.243 million. And the third consultant is Mr. Garfield Higgins, Senior Advisor Consultant, 3-year contract, basic salary $3.298 million, traveling $1.243 million. The number of persons currently employed on fixed-term contract at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is 363, inclusive of education officers, executive assistants, secretaries, specialist subject coaches, technical development officers, policy analysts, etc., across the island. Ministry of Labour and Social Security, please note that Mr. Grefford Smith, now deceased, was contracted prior to this administration, effective April 6, 2013, to the time of his death on April the 5th, 2017, and he had a basic salary of $2.931 million. Also, Mr. Robert Chung had a 1-year contract. Contract ended on the 31st of January 2018, has not been renewed, and his basic salary was $2.931 million, with a motor vehicle upkeep of $1.243 million. We also had Ms. Beatrice Roden, Senior Advisor Consultant in the Honourable Minister, contract period 3 years, salary $2.931 million, and the motor vehicle upkeep $1.243 million. Mr. Alvin McIntosh, Project Coordinator, National Insurance Investment Fund, contract period of 3 years, salary $3.5 million. They have reported 3 persons on fixed-term contracts. In regards to the Ministry of National Security, we had a 2-year contract for Mr. Danville Davidson. He has subsequently been transferred to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and his salary scale was 2.9 to 3.298 million. We had, within that same ministry, a 2-year contract for one Angelique Virtue, Communication Consultant, Level 3, to the Minister of National Security, salary scale 2.663 to 2.939 million. We had a 3-year contract for Mr. Peter Jones, Policy Advisor Consultant, for policy support, scale 2.6 to 2.939 million, traveling allowance $1.243 million. We also had a 3-year contract for Dennis Wright, Advisor Consultant 3 for management, 2.663 million to 2.939 million. We had also Jeffrey Britton, advisor consultant 3, contract period 3 years, salary scale 2.663 million to 2.939 million, traveling allowance of 1.243 million. We also had Lerone Leng, advisor consultant 3 for policy and communication with a 2-year contract with a salary of 2.663 to 2.939 salary range. They have reported the number of persons on fixed-term contracts have been 51. I just want to note with the change of portfolio that Mr. Dennis Wright, Jeffrey Britton, and Lerome Leng have now been transferred to the Ministry of Transport and Mining. In regards to the Ministry of Justice, we've had a 1-year contract for Pauline Webb-Beverly, advisor consultant, and that contract commenced February the 2nd, 2017, so it would now have expired and has not been renewed. Her salary was 2.744 million and traveling allowance of 1.243 million. Then there was a 3-year contract for Ron Powell, advisor consultant. That salary was $2,021,031, traveling $1.243 million. Ministry of Justice reports 10 persons on fixed-term contracts. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service have reported that Senator Auburn Hill was contracted as Chief Technical Advisor up to September 29, 2017, between the period of August 2 to originally it was a 3-year contract, but as I said, he resigned on September 29, 2017, and his basic salary was $4.5 million. Tamika Gordon, 2-year contract with effective date April 10th, 2017. Contract has been terminated effective the 27th of March this year. She was contracted with a basic salary of $3,060,000 with a traveling allowance of $1.243 million. And we have Mr. Michael Thakur, Senior Technical Advisor, contracted for a 2-year period, September 1, 2016 to the 31st of August 2018. And his salary is paid, Mr. President, by the CDB. However, the government pays housing allowance of US $30,000 per annum. And CDB, Caribbean Development Bank. What you're asking questions? Like, Verily Lettered Bader, Senior Technical Advisor, 3-year with effect of August the 2nd, 2016, with a basic salary of $3.6 million. The ministry reports 15 fixed-term contracts. In regards to the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, Mr. Trevor Forrest has been contracted as a senior advisor consultant for a 3-year period, commenced on April 1, 2016, with a salary of $3.233 million. Also, Mr. Dwight Lewis Sr., advisor consultant, 3-year contract period, a salary of $3.233 million. Ms. Sophia Dare, technical assistant to the Honourable Minister, 3-year contract, commenced on March 15, 2016, at a salary of $2,000,004. The number of persons on fixed-term contracts reported is 21. The Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, Ms. Joy Douglas, Senior Advisor Consultant, contract period 3 years, salary $3,079,000, traveling $1.243 million. Ms. Susan Wilson, Executive Assistant, contract 3 years, commenced March 7, 2016, salary $1.358 million. Ms. Jacqueline King, Special Assistant, a 3-year contract of commenced on March 7, 2016, at a salary of $837,028 per annum. Total fixed term contract for that ministry is 14. Turning now to the Ministry of Transport and Mining. Senior Advisor Consultant, Mr. Binley Sangster, contracted March 9, 2016 to March 8, 2019. Salary scale, $2,079,178 to $3,079,850,000. Travel allowance, $1.243 million. We also have Ms. Juliet Mayer, Special Advisor, Multimodal Transport Development, contracted for 3 years, April the 3rd, 2016 to April the 3rd, 2019, with a salary of $4 million approved by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service with a traveling allowance of $1.243 million. Mr. Ferris Zaidi, Special Advisor, Consultant, Strategic Investments, Public-Private Partnership, Multimodal Transport Logistics Hub, contracted for 3 years, approved by the Ministry of Finance at a salary of $5,508,000. And they report 11 persons on fixed-term contracts. The Ministry of Tourism reports that Dr. Lloyd Waller was contracted as Senior Advisor Consultant for 3 years with a salary range of $2.933 million and traveling $1.243 million. Ms. Giselle Jones, Advisor Consultant, contracted for 2 years with a salary of $1.465 million and traveling of $707,400. Mr. Danville Davidson, I mentioned before, was transferred from the Ministry of National Security to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Ms. Angelique Virtue, Communications Consultant to the Dr. Honourable Horace Chang for 2 years, salary $2.744 million, traveling $1.243 thousand. Mr. Loxley Smith, Senior Consultant Advisor to the Honourable Darrell Vaz, with a 2-year contract which commenced on the 22nd of March 2016, a salary of $3,079,835,000, traveling $1.243 million. Mr. Gavin Powell, as a Technical Assistant to the Honourable Darrell Vaz, contract for 3 years, salary $2,340,000, traveling $1,243,608 million. Ms. Renisha Robinson, Advisor Consultant, 1 for a 2-year contract with a salary of $1.532 million and a traveling allowance per annum of $704,400. Ms. Susan Bailey, contracted as a Special Advisor for a period of 2 years with a salary of $4.752 million, traveling of $1.243 million, and reporting 22 fixed-term contracts. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Mr. Lenford Salmon, Senior Advisor Consultant, contracted for 3 years, salary $2.990 million and traveling of $1.130 million per annum. Mr. Clifton Dillon, Senior Advisor Consultant, contracted for 3 years, salary $2.990 million and traveling $1.130 million. The total number of fixed-term contracts reported is 13. The Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Mr. Marlon Morgan, Special Advisor Consultant, 3-year contract that commenced June 13, 2016. The salary contracted was $3 million per annum, traveling $1.243 million. Ms. Caroline Brown, Communication and Media Advisor to that ministry with a 2-year contract, salary $2.548 million, traveling $1.243 million. Ms. Adonia Chin, Advisor Consultant, 1, 3 years contract, commenced March 2nd, 2016, salary of $2.744 million with a travel allowance per annum of $1.243 million. The number of persons on fixed-term contracts reported as 3. The Attorney General's Chambers, Mr. Jeffrey Madden, part-time consultant, was contracted for 1 year with a salary of $2,184,000. Sean Wilkinson, part-time consultant, contracted May 22nd, 2017 to October 1, 2017. Contract ended. Salary was $2.184 million per annum. And Susan Reed Jones, part-time consultant, contracted from October the 1st, 2015 to September the 30th, 2016, salary $2.1 million. And the total from that department of fixed-term contracts, Mr. President, was 6. May it so please you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And no doubt in due course, when the Ministry of Health provides it information, you will put it before this chamber. Yes, Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Brown.
No.
Since we started, we have been joined with 74 young people from the St. Mary Technical High. It's always great to have the kids from St. Mary because I think there were some students here from St. Mary's High a couple weeks ago. So welcome to the Senate. And there are 3 teachers with you. Please enjoy the sitting today. I don't think it's going to be very long, although you never know. And safe travel home when you leave here. Lovely to see you, and you're welcome to come back anytime, okay? And I'm sure that Senator Floyd Morris, who is from St. Mary, is going to be very sorry that he wasn't here to see you. Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I join in extending a welcome to the students who are here. There are more coming? Well, that's what make up the 74, because I was concerned about the maths earlier. Mr. President, through you to the Honourable Minister. Minister, when I look through the list, I see titles like Executive Assistant, Advisor Consultant, Senior Advisor. Could I just clarify from you, how do we determine who is a consultant or an advisor for purpose of the question that I asked? Because you have given an answer, and I assume the answer that you have given took into account a certain definition of consultant or advisor, and I'd just like to get a sense, because there's some other questions that flow from that.
Mr. President, what I'd like to clarify would be that the portfolio minister by the Ministry of Finance and the government policy is allowed 2 consultant advisors, the full portfolio minister, and a minister of state 1 consultant advisor. So the terminology is consultant advisor. Right? That's the terminology. Of course, the ministry can hire other consultants over and above that stipulated, subject to the approval of the Ministry of Finance. You also have in the report that I've tabled executive assistants that I've also indicated as persons that were contracted for those period under fixed-term contracts.
President, again, through you, I've seen titles like Communication and Media Advisor. Would that be part of the 1 for Minister of State or 2 for ministers? And in light of your answer that you can get approval for employing more than the 2 or the 1 as the status may allow. Whether or not you are saying to us this is the totality of the consultant and advisors, say for Ministry of Health, employed by the government at this time.
So, through you, Mr. President, this is information that has been provided to me from all the ministries and the Ministry of Finance and Public Service.
So, for example, Mr. President, somebody who works in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, who does not appear on the list, say, Special Projects Coordinator, would that be in the realm of consultant? And before I get to answer that about your ministry, for example, in the Ministry of Energy and Science, Energy and Technology, and I note, President, that these answers given, if you go to page 2, you will see in the first column, Ministry, Department, and Agency. Am I to take it that advisors employed to, say, an agency under the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology would not be in this list?
Mr. President, let me deal with the first one, that the persons who are employed for projects, project director, etc., would not be captured in my submission as advisors consultant because they are project, okay? So they will be captured under fixed-term contracts. Also, I am not reporting on persons employed from public bodies. It is central ministry.
So if somebody is in a public body earning 50,000 US per quarter, that would not be included in this. So I shouldn't expect, therefore, for anybody at Petrojam earning 50,000 US per quarter to be so included. That's what I'm hearing it to be saying. And if that's so, I will move on.
Mr. President, I just want to reiterate that we provided answers based on the questions that were asked.
And that is why I'm clarifying about that 50,000 US per quarter contract at Petrojam. It's very important. But Mr. President, could I ask, given the large sum of money being paid out by the state, and I'm not here interested in PNP versus JLP, I'm interested in Jamaica, right? That's for another place and another time. My concern is, are there job descriptions for each of these positions? And all are objectives determined and set, as well as monitored for these individuals? So that's one of the questions I wish to ask. Maybe I could ask some others. No, I'm not. Well, if you want us to table that we're employing people who are taxpayers' money, we don't know what they're supposed to do. We don't know if they're doing it, but them getting the money, and you want us to table that?
Mr. Brown, just stick to the questions and let us move on.
Yeah, so I want to know what is the system of evaluating and measuring performance, Senator Webby, of these consultants, advisors. But I want to protect, like you, Senator Gill, the taxpayer dollar. Right? I want to protect the taxpayer dollar. How are these contracts monitored? How do we know if people are performing? Do you want to have a observer account? I don't think so.
Mr. President, I can answer the member in a very general way. To my certain knowledge, the policy of the government is that all contracted persons should be contracted with a TOR, with a specific job description. the HR department of each ministry would be required for monitoring and evaluating the performance against those particular standards. In fact, in most of these instances, they are not permanent employment. They attract some amount of gratuity. And for the persons to benefit from the gratuity at the end of the contract period, it will have to be subject to review and evaluation. In fact, the immediate supervisor would be required to evaluate the incumbent.
Mr. President, I'm being told what is supposed to be. Can we find out if there is an active system operating in the ministries? And to whom do these advisors report? To the PS or to the minister? Because they're trying to get the answer to who monitor their performance and whether they do work for the money with government paying them.
Yeah, what I was just saying, Senator Brown, that it's two categories of persons that you have referred to. You've spoken about fixed-term contract persons, and then you're speaking also about advisors to ministers. And administratively, advisors, consultant to a minister equally would be subject to performance review by the permanent secretary, HR, but because they are working also directly with the ministers, then you would also have to be part of the evaluation team.
So we're being told that the ministers are part of the evaluation team of these advisors and not just the permanent secretary. If there's a disagreement between the level of evaluation, whose views stand, the minister or the PS? Just need to know that.
Yeah, you know, that's why I have an HR process, and I'm sure the HR system will take care of that. You know, so I mean, you know, internally.
Mr. President, I understand the minister to be saying the HR. I can understand why some HR get 12 million, but I don't know of any in the public sector in the ministries getting 12 million per year. But you say it's a matter for the HR in the public, which is below the level of the permanent secretary, which is kind of strange. It's kind of strange. But Mr. President, let me proceed.
Never said that it is a matter for the HR. You know, he says that there are HR as I understand it, there are HR guidelines that would kick in with that. Senator Brown.
I want to move on, Senator but you
Brown.
have just intervened
Please,
to clarify something. But that's what I'm doing. But you President, you intervene to clarify something
Senator Knight will understand what I say, what I mean when I say that this is like a fishing thing where you're going on with.
Absolutely, it's not a fishing, because let me tell you why it's not fishing.
Ask the question.
The next question you will see has nothing to do with fishing.
12 o'clock.
Minister.
Senator Knight agreed with me, but he's not saying it.
It's just like he is aware that some big fish down there.
And we're coming to one of the big fish. Minister, you made a distinction as you reported. And some people who are working part-time consultant and full-time consultant. In the Ministry of Tourism, we see earning $4 million of taxpayer money is a certain senior advisor consultant. Could you tell us, Minister, if that senior consultant is working full-time as an advisor consultant? And I raise it because somebody with a similar name as Dr. Lloyd Waller is also employed to the University of the West Indies on a full-time basis. So I'm wondering if there's a conflict. If it's the same person, or there's a conflict here, because that person is earning head of department salary at the UWI. And is working, is it full-time in the Ministry of Tourism at $4.8 million? Could you clarify that for us?
Mr. President, Mr. President, I do not have the specific terms of the contract before me, but I'm referring to the fact that there is a reported 3-year contract for Dr. Lloyd Waller for the salaries that have been reported.
Mr. President, just so we'd not be accused of fishing, can we ask what is the basis?
When I wasn't accusing, you know, I was making an observation.
I know, and so I'm just out of abundance of caution.
But there's nothing wrong with fishing, you know, it's a good entity.
Out of abundance. I just got a big whale with the Dr. Waller. So I want to move on. In transportation, we see title in the Ministry of Transport and Mining. We see title like consultant, strategic investment, public-private partnership, multimodal transport logistics hub. And we see 5.5 million approved. What has been done by this person over the last, that's 10 million over the last 2 years, 11 million over the last 2 years. Is the work of this person, as well as the 5 million being paid to the special advisor on multimodal transport development, what has been the product of these work that the public can judge whether or not the Jamaican people are getting money for getting value for the money we pay now? That's $20 million over the last 2 years. And I'm fishing for the multimodal system that we can't find.
Mr. President, I certainly entreat the member to table that question since it requires research to properly answer. I just want to point him, however, that there is one Dr. Franklin Johnson who was contracted as advisor to the former Minister of Education, Ronnie Thwaites, at a basic salary of $5 million and upkeep of $1.130 million.
Mr. President, that's in another place someone says non-responsive. I asked no question about Dr. Franklin but if you want to ask about education, let me ask you now, what is the job description of Sharon A. Webster? And bear with me, Mr. President. Last time we got information from the minister indicating a certain salary level. But today the minister provides us with another document reflecting a greater salary level. Is it that it reflects an increase, or the first information that was provided to us was incorrect? To be precise, the information you provide to me the last time was that Mrs. Sharon A. Webster, advisor consultant to you, was getting 2.6 million. Today, the information provided to us reflects a different salary level. I'll give it to you now. I mean, which page is it now? Page 3, yeah. It reflects, instead of 2.6 million, it reflects compensation of $4.4 million. What account for that big gap? Is it a salary increase that has been given, or the first information given to us was incorrect? Well, I don't want to go fishing on this one. I want to assume that this one is correct. And is Mr. Robert Miller also a consultant advisor to you? Minister, his name is not on this list.
Mr. President, just to advise that there, in fact, was a revised salary in relation to Mrs. Sharon Hay Webster by virtue of the submission to Ministry of Finance that actually approved a higher salary scale. So that I'd like to just update the information. In regards to Mr. Robert Miller, Mr. Robert Miller was not employed by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, although he was in fact doing some service for us at the ministry.
Mr. President, just to clarify, and for the Minister to clarify, you're saying that one of your advisors has received over 20% increase in pay since the last time you provided us in May? No, I want to clarify, because the teachers of Jamaica don't get that increase. The sanitation workers don't get that increase. The nurses don't get that increase. The doctors don't get that increase. The civil servants don't get that increase. Am I hearing a 20% increase for a political advisor to the minister? Is that what does that mean? I want that clarified.
Point of order, Mr. President. Senator, with due respect, I thought we were doing a service to the country, but you really have gone off.
Mr. President, the real point of order is that I should not be personally attacked.
Senator Brown,
I should not be personally attacked, and I hope the minister don't go there.
We can move quickly. Senator Brown, you have any other questions that you want to ask? No, it's all right. You have any other questions?
No.
Senator Knight, go ahead, please.
I'm a part of this Senate. When questions are asked, I have an interest in hearing the answer. If one was getting $2.6 million per year and one's salary moves up to 3.2, then it seems to me that one has received somewhere in the region of 25%.
That was, sorry, Senator Knight, that was the question that I expected a response from, but then the senator went off on a different track and perhaps distracted himself.
But
so you can answer the question that you're asking.
Thanks, because I'm just seeking information.
Mr. President, and let me be very clear. What I was saying, Senator Brown and members of the Senate, is that you asked for a salary range, and she was actually contracted at at the rate that I have indicated, which is the 3.298 million. There's no increase, right? There's no increase from what the original contracted figures were. I think what the report, and I've said there's a revision, what we had tabled before was the original submission, or should I say the original contracted amount that was sent to the Ministry of Finance for them to revise it on application so she would be paid at the higher level as consultant 3 based on her experience. Ministry of Finance approved it at that level. So there's no change in her emolument from the time that she was contracted.
Mr. President, when we come to the Senate and ask questions consistent with the standing order, we expect full and truthful answer. Senator Reid gave me a document the last sitting. Ministry of Education. Well, let me remind you of the question. Question number 2. Could the minister please provide a list of these individuals by ministries, inclusive of the salary scale in which they are employed? What came was not a scale. What claim was a specific salary figure of $2.6 million. That's what it is. Here is it that we were given. Today, following questions asked elsewhere in the PAAC, and the Ministry of Finance provided fuller detail, we have gotten from the minister today a different figure. It says salary, not a scale that is being given. Yeah. It says salary, 3.2 million. It then add fixed traveling, 1.2. That's 4.4. And if we round up $4.5 million, but we are not able to get from the minister what is the work product of this consultant advisor that warrant the Jamaican taxpayers paying $4.5 million at a time when things is tough and at a time when the people have been taxed. So we are saying, based on the minister's document, it must mean an increase has been given in the range of 20 to 25% to a political advisor, while the people of the country can't get that level of increase. And we need clarification on that. Is it an increase, or were we being misled with the first statement? One or the two, we need to know, Mr. President. And with that, Mr. President, I will lift your head up because I'll ask no more questions on this issue today.
Yeah, you know, Mr. President, what I would simply say is that what we have tabled is a clarification from what was presented. And again, let us be very clear. The figure of 3.2 million is far less than the 5 million on basic salary that Johnson was being paid. Don't come here and dance that. Don't come here and dance that.
Mr. President, a point of order. Mr. President, a point of order. Mr. President, a point of order.
President, again, I am entitled.
Sorry, would you allow Senator Knight to complete, please? Thank you, Senator Knight.
I am entitled to understand what is going on. Is it now that I'm hearing of a comparison being made between Dr. Franklin Johnson, noted educator, and the present holder of the job? Because I heard the minister to have said Johnson. I don't know if it is Dr. Franklin Johnson.
I don't think we really want to go down that road.
No, we need.
So, Senator Knight, what you want to know was how much Mr. Johnson was being paid? I don't want to get into that.
No, sir. All I want to know, if the reference to Johnson is Dr. Franklin Johnson. That's all I want to know. Let's get up and say so, please.
Thank you, Senator Knight. I don't want to get into Senator Johnson, Mr. Johnson.
No, it's twice. It is twice that the minister did it. And I want to know, I'm entitled, with the greatest of respect, President, for him just to identify,
Senator,
is it Dr. Franklin Johnson, so that I can know apples and oranges, plums and cherries.
Senator Reid, the Senator Knight wants to know if it is, which is the Mr. Johnson you are speaking about. I don't really want to get into Mr. Johnson's business. I don't get into that. If you insist, Minister. You know, can I say something with the greatest of respect? Can I not bring Mr. Johnson into this? All right, so Minister, they want to know which Mr. Johnson you're talking and how much money he was being paid.
No, President, I have asked no question about Dr. Franklin Johnson. I respect the excellent quality of service he has done, and his service.
But that's what Senator Brown.
His service
Senator Brown.
can be compared. What
Senator Brown, with the greatest of respect.
And the target is what the political advisor did to get a 20,
Senator Brown, listen, man,
increase.
I understand what you're saying. You know, Senator Johnson, Mr. Johnson is somebody I have the greatest of respect for, as well as the present advisor.
Mr. President,
Greatest respect the questions.
Ms. Verica Bennett was a senior advisor to the then Ronald Quaid and got a basic salary of 3.6 million. And I'm saying there was no increase because the lady started her contract with 3.26 million. That's what I'm saying. But you're now making it as to say that since the last time I gave you an interim report, there has been an increase in salary. And that is a lie.
Thank you. Motions that may be made at the Senator Skeffrey,
Mr. President, declare myself for what? No, I don't have nothing to declare. So I don't know what. I worked in the ministry as a STEM coordinator.
Senator Skeffrey.
So I have nothing to declare.
Senator Skeffrey.
Okay.
Senator
Nothing to hide. Mr. President.
Senator Skeffrey. Address me, please.
Mr. President.
No, but you were involved in some other discussion.
Mr. President.
Just address me and we can move smoothly.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, please, sir.
May I ask the minister, is it a requirement for all these various positions to be approved by the Ministry of Finance before such persons are engaged? And can you say that all these positions were so approved before the persons were engaged? That's question one. No, and I'll answer. I'll take them in stride.
The question is whether or not Ministry of Finance approval is required in relation to all of the issues, all of the positions before you. And I think it's a yes or no. You don't need to get into any.
Mr. President, I point to order. With due respect, Mr. President, I'm asking the minister to answer me, not the president. With due respect.
Come again?
And the standing order is clear. Mr. President, with due respect.
No,
I'm engaging the minister. I have asked through you questions to the minister, not for the president to answer the questions,
I'm not answering
but for
the
the minister.
I'm not answering the question.
You're leading the minister how to answer the question.
I'm not answering or
leading the minister. And I think if you read the standing order, Mr. President, that's against the standing order.
I'm not answering the question.
No, so please let the minister answer the questions as I ask.
I'm not answering the question.
I'm sure the Honourable Prime Minister
shouting me down now.
Because he has confidence in him.
So you are now shouting me down. All I'm saying to the minister is answer the question as quickly as possible so we can move on.
Mr. President, just to educate the member that there are two approaches. There are establishment posts, of which, and I stated originally, and you as a Minister of State, a full minister allowed 2 advisor consultant and a Minister of State 1. So what you are required to do is indicate to Ministry of Finance the activation of those posts. So I just want to make it clear, because if you have established position, you don't have to go to Finance again to get approval for established position. The position is established. If there are positions outside of the establishment, then you have to seek full approval from the Ministry of Finance for you to contract those persons. So if you can table the question, if you want me to go through every one of those positions, because I wouldn't have that information to say, I'd assume from the report. And of course, the report that I'm tabling, Mr. President, is a compilation of the report that we verified with the Ministry of Finance. And I wouldn't expect Ministry of Finance to give us information of which they are not aware.
Okay. Mr. President,
Thank you, Minister Reid. Senator Skeffrey.
Is the Economic Growth Council a part of the Ministry of Economy and Job Creation? And in that context, we saw where Senator Hill was a part of the ministry, no longer. Was it a transfer to that ministry? And if the answer is yes, why is that not on the answer provided here in terms of this position?
Mr. President, I'm not aware of that transfer.
No, I asked, Mr. President, through you, I ask first, is the Economic Growth Council a part of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation? So that's the first part. And it's public knowledge that our colleague senator heads that council. Nobody disputing that. So I'm merely asking if the previous position in the Ministry of Finance is a transfer to that council, and if so, is it a contracted position, and hence why it's not listed in here? No, so yes, so okay, all right, if he has resigned, in other words, so is the head of the Economic Growth Council now? Yes, so the question therefore, if the head of the Economic Growth Council would be a part of such contracted position as asked by my colleague Senator Brown within the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Senator Skeffrey, I will seek further clarification on the matter, okay? Because I don't have that information here.
Final one from me. The Ministry of Sports and Culture. Is it that we have sure that you have listed all the advisors, consultants? And I ask a genuine question in this context because I have watched my sports news many times, and I've seen Mr. Ali McNabb title listed as advisor to the Minister of Sports, but he's not listed here as among that. So is he a paid advisor from the public purse?
I can advise you and don't...
No. So listen to the question. So I'm asking a follow-up question. Senator Gill. Is he a paid advisor to the Ministry of Sports? And if yes, is he paid from the public purse? And if it's yes, why is not listed here?
Mr. President, I think we are getting to the point where I think the members perhaps should table those questions because, you know, you can't expect to come here and ask every question and expect to get the answers immediately. So I don't have that information on Mr. Ali McNabb at my fingertips. I welcome you to table that, and we can supply you that information. We don't have anything to hide.
Thank you very much. Senator, thank you very much, Senator Minister Reid. Senator Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask the Minister if I'm correct in my calculation that not including project managers, not including persons on fixed-term contracts, and not including the Ministry of Health, if the government currently pays per annum $171 million to political advisors.
Mr. President, that is coming from the Portia Miller administration that had advisors totaling $255 million. So if that is your math expert, if that is your total, well, I'll do a verification. So
I repeat,
255 million of from the last Portia Miller administration. 255 million.
I repeat, sir, and again, it is important that we're able to compare oranges and oranges. Am I correct that not including the Ministry of Health, not including project managers, and not including persons on fixed-term contract, if the current figure is at least $171 million? That's the question I'm asking.
Mr. President, if that is based on the figures presented, if that is your tally, well, so be it.
Secondly, is it possible for the minister to provide a similar list for those persons who are employed as project managers and the projects for which they are employed?
Again, Senator, always simple asking humbly, if that is information that you want, just table it and we'll provide it.
Finally, Mr. President, is the minister certain that he has reflected on this list all persons employed as advisors in his ministry?
To my certain knowledge, barring a recent, but I didn't mention Mr. Robert Morgan, all right? Mr. Marlon Morgan, rather. We have reported on the advisors, the political advisors and consultants. We have Mr. Marlon Morgan that is now doing some work with us, but he's not paid by our ministry.
Mr. President, I think it's a simple yes or no. I ask a question. If the minister is certain that he has established all the persons that are currently employed in his particular ministry.
Last time I asked for a yes or no, I was told that I was leading the witness. Witness, sorry, Senator Reid. Senator. All right, let's go. Next one, please. I'm saying I can't give you a yes or no. And you finish?
Clarify, Mr. President. The list provided to us, as on page 8, Mr. Marlon Morgan, Special Advisor, Consultant, has a 3-year contract in the Ministry of Industry, Agriculture, and Fishery for $4.2 million. Are we now being told that he has been transferred or co-opted to the Ministry of Education? And could we be told as of when and to do what? Mr. President, I know you are distracted by your colleague,
Senator
Queen's
Knight
Counsel.
distracted me,
Your
man.
colleague, Queen's Counsel. And in the meantime, Senator Reid has had a lot of time to think about the answer to the question I asked. When was Marlon Morgan transferred or co-opted from the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, and Fisheries to to Ministry of Education, not Northwest Center, Ministry of Education? And what is his role in the Ministry of Education? And given what you said earlier about ministers having 2 and junior minister having 1, what number of advisors this will now make you have with Marlon Morgan joining your team?
He was effectively transferred about the 5th of April, and he is a special advisor dealing with special projects.
And would it be true? It would be true that with that transfer, Mr. Robert Miller is leaving your ministry to go to agriculture, fishery, etc.? Could I have an answer to that?
That is correct. That is correct. There was an agreed
Thank you,
transfer.
Minister. Good. Anybody else?
Thank you, President. Minister, my question is, are any of these advisors, consultants, etc., governed by the staff orders governing civil servants? And if the answer is yes, would such an individual be precluded from involving him or herself in overt political activity?
My understanding for politically appointed, because the advisors to the ministers are political advisors, right? They work with the minister to carry out his duties. And when I say political, I wouldn't say necessarily party, but I believe that constitutionally, people will be free to exercise their job function outside of that realm in a private capacity. That would be my answer.
No, with respect, the question was if any of these individuals is... No, I'm not asking you to fish. You presented a list, and I would believe that before you presented the list, you would make yourself au fait with issues like this, and that it is not just a function of reading a list to an attentive group. It is a matter of your knowing what this list is about. And so the question is a simple one. In relation to these individuals, can you say whether or not any would be governed by the staff orders? And if the answer is yes, would such an individual be precluded from involving him or herself in overt political activity?
Mr. President, I would like to research that matter and get back to the Senate.
In terms of your own ministry, is there anyone on this list involving him or herself in overt political activity?
Mr. President, again, I would prefer the member to give me some specifics.
There are some named individuals on this list. The question is, Is anyone... You brought this list. Are you... No. Senator Samuda, when you become a minister, and if I'm here, I'll ask you questions. Since you are not, when I ask a question, I don't require an answer from you. Thank you. There are some named individuals here. Is anyone on this list involved in overt political activity to your knowledge?
Mr. President, I unfortunately can't speculate.
Would you regard writing articles in one of the newspapers? There are two newspapers to which I refer. One, the Observer. Two, the Gleaner. Would you regard writing articles in one of those two newspapers, which articles are always condemnatory of the opposition party? Would you regard that as political activity?
Not at all. I think that's opinion, and I think we need to be very fair that as a minister or a senator, we are all aligned to a political party. And so a lot of what we do also would be part of our overall political work. So if you have an advisor that is right and writing opinion, then I think that's constitutionally acceptable.
With respect, not all of us are aligned to a particular political party. I happen to be aware that in the Senate we have had from time to time persons who have no political cleavage. So your statement, with respect, is incorrect. I want to know, because I want to be satisfied in my mind, so that when I go into the wider society, I am able to defend some of these persons who I hear being attacked by others. And on your list is a named individual who is a regular contributor to the Sunday Observer, at the very least. And I spent some time reading his articles, and I have always found that these articles are condemnatory of the opposition. I read them to see if when he's condemning, if there's anything I can glean from the articles which I would cause my party, and I admit to being a member of a political party, the People's National Party, I would be able to advise them that I think, you know, there's a good point here. So let us see if we can either adopt it, change, or not. My issue is, ought an individual who is regarded as an advisor consultant, covered under the staff orders, and if so, should such an individual be involved in what is clearly overt political activity? That's my question to you.
Thank you very much, Senator and President. That's a question that I will have further discussion, and so we can get a clear policy position on that.
Well, I take that to mean that there is no clear policy position known to you, and you as the minister ought to be fully aware of any policy position that exists. So I wait with some anxiety, however, your being able to answer the question following your research. For example, advisors and consultants employed based upon their expertise in a particular area, and so are advisors in a particular ministry. Is that so? If their engagement is based because they possess a certain expertise which is needed in a particular ministry, is that the situation?
Yes, that's generally the policy. They're hired on a TOR, clear terms of reference, and given a job description.
Once an individual is transferred from one ministry to another based on the movement of a particular minister, is that consultant engaged under a new terms of reference which is referable to the new ministry?
The TOR, from my knowledge, would change since some of the job functions that would be relevant in one ministry may differ. So, as in my case, you construct a new TOR when there is a movement. So the person could still be paid by that particular ministry, but the understanding by a service level agreement is that they would work in a particular ministry, but you do a new TOR.
So for example, in the ministry, for example, in the Ministry of National Security, my understanding is that 2 of the advisor consultants have been transferred to the ministry to which the former Minister of National Security now is. Is it that these 2 individuals will be having new terms of reference because they possess the expertise needed in the new ministry? Because, you know, I mean, there are persons who can move from one place to another as experts, you know, but I just want to know so that I am satisfied that these transfers are being done on the basis of ministry needs and not just a matter of being with a particular minister.
That's what you call job.
Noted, and as I said, my understanding is that there will be new TOR, and there are skill sets that can be utilized across ministries. And as a minister, you certainly need persons to help you develop policy, to execute policy, to make sure that you're monitoring the policy. So I would see, therefore, the value of a minister, because a minister, as in the U.S. system, by the way, where when you change administration, you bring in your own people, right? I think we also need to be very clear on that a minister do need very loyal and reliable persons that will give him guidance and support in carrying out his very awesome duties as a portfolio minister.
With the greatest of respect, the U.S. system is totally different from the Westminster model. And is it that this administration is moving towards the U.S. system? You said that as in the U.S. system. As in the U.S. system, I should understand what the practice is. Whilst I understand it simply from an academic position, I don't understand it to be applicable here. But if it is, because change is necessary, if it is that we are changing our way of operating, where when a new political party comes into government, there are political characters who are now preferred and brought in, and efficient and able persons are overlooked, then let us know, is that what is happening?
Mr. President, you know that my reference to the U.S. was just simply to illustrate a point that in their system, how they do transfer of power, and just that in our Westminster system, the only comparison would be at the level of advisors, because, as you know, our standing orders allow for advisors to be assigned to each minister and minister of state. And those persons are persons that are, and it's one of the areas, by the way, as you know, that is totally at the discretion, largely, of the minister in terms of identifying those persons subject to their qualification. So, you know, that is what I'm saying. But it's not that we are moving to the U.S. system only making that illustrative point, because the public sometimes get confused about advisors. Advisors to ministers is within the staff orders, and they are usually political persons who have technical abilities aligned to political parties. Let us be very clear.
The public are the one getting confused. Thank you, Minister.
Be assured, however, that advisors to ministers need not be aligned to the political party of which the minister is a member. Can we be assured that that is not the way in which you operate, that persons who are of the same political cleavage, that they will have an advantage over persons who are not? For example, persons who have none. Can I be assured that that is the policy you follow? Well, Minister, you know, sometimes when the truth will hurt, some persons remain silent. I notice you have chosen the path of silence. But I want to ask you this other question.
I think that it was done in deference to me, who was observing the clock. That's why he remained silent. Senator Knight, you have one final question, I think?
A final question. And in the final questions, if it was indeed simply out of deference, then I would ask him to include the answer to that question with this. Persons who are employed as consultants, advisors, their salary package, is it correct, is based upon their particular qualification. So, for example, am I correct that one who is a professor would get a higher salary package than a lecturer? Is that so? And I remind you that that question is directly linked to the name that you had called receiving 5 million and the other 2.6.
Minister, you know, if I was asked that question, I could do it very succinctly. You know, may I suggest that you just deal with it very succinctly?
Thank you, Mr. President. But, yes, Mr. President.
Sorry. Once I saw your laugh, I didn't hear your words.
No, I'm saying yes, in the affirmative, that usually the salaries are determined by the TOR, your year's experience and qualification.
Very much. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. No motions relating to the sitting of the Senate. Motions for leave to introduce bills. The presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained. Public business.
Sir, Mr. President, public business, I believe. I know.
Senator Brown, loud man. Man.
Yes. Mr. President is not intended to do any further business on the public business, except to say there's a motion or two motions by Senator Matthew relating to the regulations committee.
1 minute. Hold on a minute. You are taking this. You are taking what?
No, we're not doing a recommendation. Yes. The motion relating to the regulation committee. Yeah, but it's a motion.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, everybody is sitting in the wrong seat today. I don't understand what is going on. Senator Knight is the only one in his correct seat.
President,
go
permission
ahead,
to speak
yes,
from a seat
not
my own.
And move quickly, please.
Mr. President, I bring to the attention of the Senate the reports on the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefits Special Selections, Berkshire Courts of Eltham, Order 2018, tabled 2nd of May 2018, and the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefits Special Selections, Estuary Housing Development Order 2017, tabled November 13, 2017. As the Senate is aware, the NHT may carve out a number of units in housing developments for specific groups, such as the police, soldiers, public servants, and in some cases, those who are disabled. Orders are done specifying these carve-outs. They were tabled, referred to as regulations committee considered by regulations and committee considered by that committee. The committee found the regulations to be in order and reported to the Senate. I'm now asking the Senate to approve these reports as tabled earlier.
You have heard the question by the member. Those in favor?
Mr. President, before the approval, I just want to clarify. The two schemes are the estuary in St. James and Eltham. And both schemes have had their genesis prior to March 2016. I recall as a member of the board that those schemes, Senator Gill, were signed off on. I would therefore have no problem in supporting them, given their genesis. And since that those are part of the 8,000 houses that Portia Simpson had announced would come into it.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Bond. There are two motions before the floor, and I put the one that was moved first. Those in favor? In favor? Against? The ayes have it. And the second motion moved by Senator Samuda. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Mr. President, there is no intention to do any further business today. May I move for the adjournment of the sitting of the Senate today for a date to be fixed?
Thank you very much, and thanks again to all the students that joined us. Please have a safe drive over to St. Mary and to Ocherius, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Remember, I said it was going to be a short sitting. Well, it wasn't really, but I hope you enjoyed it, that you were able to see. Thank you very much again for coming. The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. 1 minute, please. You had something to table in relation to some water? No. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, you circulated the amendments to the MOCA bill? Okay, and no doubt you'll take those at a later date. The question is that the Senate now be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Against? 1 minute. Against? Senate now stands adjourned.